So we just got out of Uncut Gems.
Yes.
Well, before I do my review at home, I need to know what your thoughts are.
It was sensory overload. Like, everybody is just talking all at once, all the time, so fast, so much.
How do you feel walking out of it? Because I feel emotionally
I feel very
spent.
stressed out.
I feel like I just had 3 anxiety attacks.
Like, it was bad choices, one after another, all the time.
Oh, man. Hey, Friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the Friendoville channel. Today we're going to talk about Uncut Gems. I'm going to keep this one short because, generally speaking, when I do a movie review or a TV review, I say, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like, and that doesn't exist here. The doesn't like doesn't exist with Uncut Gems. From beginning to end, and every facet of this movie is so perfectly done. I don't have anything to complain about. So basically, I'm not going to go on like a 20-minute rant about how much I love this movie or go too in depth about the movie. You just got to see it. I will say this, it's not necessarily for everyone. I'll give you an example. My mother-in-law's good friend went to go see this movie thinking, I assume, it was an Adam Sandler movie. She's older, right? Thinking it's an Adam Sandler movie, so it must be pretty entertaining. And it is entertaining in its own way. However, if you like movies that are just chock full of tension from beginning to end, where the characters dig themselves into these holes that they can't get themselves out of, and yet continually find new ways to dig even further, deeper and deeper, and the tension just builds into this like completely crushed diamond of a film, then this is the one for you. If you want lighter entertainment, do not go see this movie because it will get your blood pressure up. You'll sit there and you'll be like, oh my God, why is he doing this right now? It is a perfectly crafted movie. I came upon the Safdie brothers, the directors, the writers and directors of this movie, based off of their last movie, Good Time, which was one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. It was a really, really terrific movie. I kind of actually appreciate, I think, that movie. I think emotionally, that movie resonates a little bit more with me because the characters involved, you had a bit more sympathy for them in that particular movie, and it had just the sweetest ending I could think of. This did not have the sweetest ending I can think of, but it was a perfectly fitting ending. If you haven't seen this movie yet, I will talk spoilers at the very end, and I will let you know that the big end of the movie, there's a big plot thing at the end. I'll let you know right before I get to that. I would say I can definitely recommend this movie. If you've already seen Good Time, definitely check this one out. I think I read somewhere that it's supposed to be coming to Netflix relatively soon. So yeah, if you're a fan of movies that are high on tension, high on deep, complex, well thought out, well written, and brilliantly acted characters, then definitely check this movie out because it's absolutely brilliant. I did write down a couple notes about stuff that I really enjoyed about this movie, so I'll get into that right now. Number one, the world building aspect of it. This is set in New York's Diamond District in 2012, which obviously is about 7-8 years ago now. But evidently, I did a little bit of research on the Safdie brothers' research, and evidently it was, I think one person referred to it as like a pseudo-documentary level of research that went into this movie. Their father actually was a player in the New York Diamond District, and it definitely shows. Like, there was obviously a ton of research done here from Adam Sandler himself, the Safdie brothers. I read a couple of interviews with them where they sort of talked about what lengths they went to make this as authentic as possible, and it definitely plays as such. It feels like a very authentic movie. There's nothing artificial. That it doesn't really feel like an artificial movie at all. It feels like a very, very grounded in the location and setting that they've decided to put it in. It's really interesting, and it does provide you a unique look into a world that I know I haven't really been too exposed to. The Diamond District. It's a pretty interesting one. I thought the performances across the board were all just absolutely magnificent. Of course, obviously, Adam Sandler. Yeah, he was snubbed for an Oscar. I kind of feel like half the half the Oscar committee, probably, or half the Oscar, whatever they call them, didn't see this movie. Could probably get about 20 minutes into it before their delicate sensibilities made them leave the theater or leave their living room or turn it off. Or they just have a thing against Adam Sandler because of his extensive career of making movies that aren't really the best in the world. Look, I was a big Adam Sandler fan back in the 90s. I got one of his comedy albums, I think the biggest one that he had, and I loved it. I loved his time on Saturday Night Live. I loved the first big batch of movies he had. Eventually, his act kind of wore thin on me. A lot of his movies felt a bit on the phoned in side. This is obviously a role that he takes great pride in, and it's one that he excels at. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in this role. Everybody else as well, from his girlfriend Julia, the actress who plays her. I think it was like her debut film. Eric Bogosian, who plays Arno, the bookie, the betting guy that's coming after him. Everybody in this, Kevin Garnett is really good in this movie in the few scenes that he has, basically playing himself. I think he did a really, really good job because you never know what you're going to get. You take a look at some of the NBA 2K games and some of the performance NBA players given those, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But everybody was just absolutely amazing in this movie. It also felt like a true representation of gambling addiction. One movie that I kind of liken it to, and it's been forever since I've seen this movie, but Leaving Las Vegas, the Nicolas Cage movie where he plays an alcoholic and he literally drinks himself to death. I felt it felt like a very raw, true representation of addiction. I remember reading that a lot back then too, because I've never dealt with addiction myself. But this, I loved how his addiction to risk and to gambling and greed was portrayed in this. It just felt very real, down to one of the final scenes when he has the opportunity. He essentially has a gun to his head. He's got all these thugs on him, cornered him in his office, and he has an opportunity to recall his girlfriend who has all his money, and she's going to go put $150,000 on this basketball game. And he literally cannot bring himself to dial that last number, which is essentially going to save his life, his family's lives, and get him out of this predicament, because he just craves that thrill of gambling and he can't bring himself to do it. It's a very tense scene, and throughout this movie you get all that kind of stuff with his character. So it definitely feels like a true representation. That was kind of interesting because I think Josh Safdie even said in an interview that he has dealt with some gambling addiction in his time, although obviously not as bad and destructive as the character of Howard Ratner in this movie. I thought the end, and here I'll get into some spoilers on the end here. So if you're interested in seeing the movie, the moment at the end that happens, the big moment that concludes the movie, it's a big punch in the gut, and it's one of the things that happens so suddenly and so unexpectedly that it really leaves the movie with you for like days afterwards. Like we saw this movie on Friday or Saturday night, and it's Tuesday, but man, I'm still like thinking about the movie. And it's largely because of the end. So this is a spoiler alert. It's been 8 minutes. If you don't want to watch it, turn off the video now. So in the end, and this is great also, the basketball game that I was so tempted when the bet was placed and Arno and his crew are trapped in the vestibule of the diamond shop of Adam Sandler's characters, and they all have to just sit there and watch the game, and they're all sweating. And Adam Sandler he's all juiced, and the Celtics win the opening tip. I was so tempted to go back and to get on my phone really quick and just see what the score was for that game, because I couldn't stand the tension. I was like, oh man, I just need to know that they're going to win. So the game plays out, and it's like the most tense game of basketball you'll ever watch in your life, and you only get to see like little bits and pieces of it here, but it goes along. And in the end, the Celtics end up winning. Therefore, Adam Sandler, Howard Ratner's big bet has paid off. He's turned that $165,000 into like a couple $1 million or $1 whatever million, and everything's gone his way. And even Arno, the head bookie guy, he's relieved and he's turned on. He's like, oh my, well, I can't believe he just made me a millionaire with this one game. He comes out. Well, the piece of crap hitman that they had, the muscle who had a gun, and you saw the gun earlier, he just goes right up to Howard Ratner and plugs him, the lead character, and plugs him in the eye. So Adam Sandler dies at the very end of the movie. And it's great because I've seen some people on Twitter say, oh my God, that ending, I can't believe that happened. And it's like, no, that was the natural conclusion to this guy's life. This would have happened. This would have happened regardless. He would have ended up just complete, because he reaches rock bottom in the movie. He reaches rock bottom in the movie, and he still doesn't learn his lesson. He still can't break the addiction. And that end to his character was inevitable. That would have happened anyways. And if you think about it logically from that hitman's perspective, he stood nothing to gain from this. His boss would have been richer. There's no evidence that he would have been any richer. And in fact, it made a lot more sense for him, being a hothead that he is, to plug Adam Sandler in the face with the gun and then rob his diamond store of all the stuff. It just made a lot more sense. It was just a very shocking moment because you think everybody would be really happy because, hey, we just won a bunch of money. No, he didn't win any money. His boss won a bunch of money. So, and on top of that, he was humiliated by having to sit in the vestibule for like 3.5 hours or however long that Game 7 was. So it made so much sense, and it was just the inevitable conclusion for his character, who deals in a world of high rollers, big money, and when you risk that much, at some point you're going to lose it all, and that's what happened. That's what he did. And then you get the big zoom in into his bullet wound, and you go into like who he is on the molecular level, and it's representative, or it's mirrored by by the opening credit shot, where you originally encounter the prized black opal that he had sold to Kevin Garnett. Its origins, having been basically the product of some sort of disaster in a mine where a guy had basically lost his leg, and it's basically, a product of somebody, of violence. Everything stems from the violence of the origins of that black opal, and that's how the movie ends, with violence as well. So it was a beautiful sort of circular beginning and end, and through. The score was absolutely amazing. It was so great. The cameo from The Weeknd. There's a great little interview with him with the Safdies talking about him saying, back in 2012, before he was like a big star, he was like, yeah, I was a bit of a punk back then, so we got to live that up a little bit. There's a lot of great stuff out there about this movie, and a lot of interviews. I think a lot of people expected it to clean up come award season. Unfortunately, it was shut out of a lot of the Oscar nominations, but I think it did pretty well, like in other awards, which is good. The movie really deserves some accolade, and I know it's made a bunch of money, comparable to what the Safdie brothers probably would be used to, or basically might have been expecting with this movie. But it is really good. I definitely recommend it. Check it out. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be reviewing next. I'm leaning towards 1917 if I can get to the theaters to watch it. But by all means, in the comments below, let me know what you would like to see reviewed. I put a poll on Twitter and here on YouTube where I offered up Cats as a suggestion. Bad news, everybody. Cats is not in the movie theaters anymore. If it comes back to the movie theaters, or once it hits on demand, digital, whatever, I'll watch it, maybe, and I'll review it because y'all want it. Let me know what else you would like to see me review in the comments below, or on the Twitter at MFSteve here. I've also got a merch shop open right now at Teespring. I think it's teespring.com/stores/MF shop here. And then I've also got MF shop here, which is where you can get my comic books. And I got a couple of art prints. I'll be putting some more stuff up on both shops. So be sure to check those out. Hit that like button, man. Hit that like button. Let's try to get this video up to 156 likes. I think that's fair for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. I do appreciate it. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.